Vladimir Putin may remain in power, but Yevgeny Prigozhin's unsuccessful rebellion underscores just how much Mr. Putin's failed attempt to conquer Ukraine has weakened Russia and sapped its military strength. The Russian president invaded Ukraine with rhetoric like this.
Anyone who tries to interfere with us, or even more so, to create threats for our country and our people, must know that Russia's response will be immediate and will lead you to such consequences as you have never before experienced in your history.
16 months later, and more of a plea to his weakened military.
This is a blow to Russia, to our people, and our actions to protect the fatherland from such a threat will be tough.
Mr. Prigozhin later called off his Wagner group of mercenaries from marching to Moscow after clashes that were likely to become bloody. In a deal brokered by Belarus dictator and Putin ally Alexander Lukashenko, Mr. Prigozhin will live in exile in Belarus. His Wagner group of mercenaries won't be prosecuted, and those who didn't take up arms against Moscow will be integrated into the military.
The immediate crisis may be averted, but the longer-term consequences will ripple out and are changing Russia's political landscape.
The Kremlin promoted the Wagner Group as a brutal extension of Russian foreign policy. They were among the fiercest fighters in Ukraine, taking horrific casualties in cities like Bakhmut. But Mr. Prigozhin had for weeks openly expressed his frustration with those casualties and the frustrations of the wider Russian military's efforts in Ukraine. And he may have sensed that Mr. Putin would act against him and his troops. He acted first, and the impact of his retreat in the near term will be a blow to Mr. Putin's ability to use the Wagner troops to project power abroad and meddle in other countries.
This might happen again, or it might not. Everyone is speculating, everyone is confused. We need to understand what is going on exactly. We need someone to explain to us.
For Russia, the failed rebellion exposes the cracks in a facade of unity that Mr. Putin's censorship has created. The extent of unhappiness among the elite is hard for outsiders to see, but it has to exist as they watch Russia's military power be squandered, its economy decline, and its global isolation grow. Government footage circulated Monday morning of Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu visiting a command post in Ukraine just adds to the larger frustration in Russia that this is a war the country hasn't been able to win. At the same time, it's a war that Vladimir Putin is unable to extricate himself from. Why? Because if he did, he'd be admitting defeat.
The consolidation of the entire society is important. We need to act together as one team, maintain the unity of all forces by lining up behind the president.
After his initial failure to take Kyiv, Mr. Putin's bet has been that he can outweight Western support for Ukraine in a grinding battle of attrition. But while he still has the advantage of manpower, such an approach works both ways, even if the West can't easily judge its impact inside Russia.
The more we hear that they have conflicts, the more it raises our fighting spirit. We hope to win soon and that they will destroy each other over there.
Had the US and other countries provided more advanced weapon systems sooner, Ukraine would have been better positioned to accelerate its summer offensive.
What the Ukrainians are trying to do is feel their way through these defenses to pick out the best opportunity to penetrate. And that takes some time because they don't want to expend their forces.
Yes, President Biden and leaders of the G7 have reiterated their support for Ukraine, but F-16 fighter jets and other assets are still weeks away from deployment.